Welcome to today's Explainer. We're going to be diving into something that, honestly, sounds like it belongs in some high-tech computer science lab, but actually, it's an absolutely crucial everyday survival skill for all of us. We're demystifying data literacy. You know, it's really not just for data scientists anymore. It's literally about how we navigate the modern world. By the end of this Explainer, you're going to see how absolutely everything around you, from the snacks you're eating to that new smartphone you want to buy, is totally driven by data. And more importantly, how understanding it gives you a massive, massive advantage.
Okay, let's dive into this and get a lay of the land. Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll be defining the terms. Second, climbing the data pyramid. Third, the power of data. Fourth, we'll look at the process framework. And finally, we'll wrap up with privacy versus security.
So, Section 1, defining the terms. What exactly is data literacy?
Let me just ask you right now, what exactly is your data? Well, if you're sitting there thinking you don't really generate data, you might want to think again. Raw data is everywhere. I mean, your favorite activity, that's data. The fact that you are engaging with this explainer right this very second, that's data too. The exact time you clicked it, the school or college you go to, the marks you got on your last exam, it's all unprocessed raw facts and figures. It is literally scattered all around us all the time.
Right, so let's add the word literacy to the mix. Traditional literacy basically means you have the skills to read and write a language, right? And digital literacy means you know how to operate your devices, like, turning your location settings on or off or printing a document. But data literacy? That is the incredible skill to read, understand, interpret, and, this is the big one, extract valuable hidden insights from all those raw facts we just talked about. It's really about looking at a giant sea of numbers and being able to spot the story hidden right beneath them.
Now, what's really interesting about this is, well, imagine a teacher looking at the raw exam scores of, say, 200 students. It's just numbers on a page, right? That's your raw data. But a data-literate teacher takes those marks, organizes them into rows and columns, applies some filters, and maybe even uses some color-coded charts, like highlighting the math scores in orange. And suddenly, boom, it becomes completely clear that students C and D are particularly weak in math. By analyzing that organized information, the teacher can make a real, targeted decision, like deciding to hold remedial holiday classes just for those specific students. So those raw, totally meaningless numbers, they were actually transformed into a direct action.
Moving on to Section 2, climbing the data pyramid. This is the journey from facts to wisdom.
That teacher's process we just talked about, it actually maps perfectly onto a four-step pyramid. Down at the base, you have data. Those are the raw, unorganized exam marks. Next up is information. That's when those marks are organized into a nice, neat table. Then comes knowledge. That happens when the teacher actually analyzes the table and realizes, hey, students C and D are struggling. And finally, right at the very peak, you have wisdom, the decision to actually step in and solve the problem by scheduling those remedial classes. So you see, data all on its own is kind of useless unless you actually climb this pyramid.
And this brilliantly illustrates something our brains do automatically, in the real world, every single day. Just think about driving. The mere existence of traffic lights on the road, that's just raw data. Seeing that the light on ABC Street is currently red, well, that's information. Realizing that the red light is facing your specific lane, that becomes knowledge. And finally, hitting the brakes to stop your car so you don't get into a crash or get a massive fine, that is wisdom. The whole thing happens in an absolute split second, but it's the exact same journey right up the data pyramid.
Section 3, real-world power. Let's look at why data literacy changes everything. The benefits here are so incredibly relatable, and they totally empower your daily personal choices. Think about just quickly glancing at the back of a snack packet to analyze the ratio of carbs to proteins so you can pick a healthier option. Or say you're buying a 20 to 30,000 rupee smartphone. You're not just going to guess, right? You gather data on the camera features, you compare reviews, you check the ratings, and it scales up massively too. Over in healthcare, doctors analyze patient data for accurate diagnoses. In city planning, real-time traffic sensors actively adjust red light timings to reduce congestion. But honestly, most importantly, it fosters critical thinking. If someone tries to sell you a product claiming a specific food causes instant weight loss, a data-literate person doesn't just blindly believe it. No way! They ask questions. What survey is this even based on? How many people were tested? Are these sources actually reliable? You basically demand the data.
But here's the catch. To reap all these amazing benefits, you've got to have the right tools. Take the number 6, representing 6 months of corporate sales data. Now, if you're a sales manager just staring at millions of data points, it's going to be completely overwhelming. But a data literate person, they know they first need tools to clean that data up, removing the errors and the duplicates. Then they apply statistical knowledge. Like if you want to know the most frequently sold product out of those 6 months, you would use the mode function. And finally, you have to know how to present it. Is a bar chart or a histogram going to be the best way to show this trend to your boss? That right there is the power of being armed with the right data tools.
All right, Section 4, the process framework. We know data literacy is important, but how do we actually build a literate culture across an entire organization? Let's move to and see how this builds a structured, step-by-step company culture. It happens in 6 parts. First up, you plan. You have to clearly define the specific aims, goals, and the time frame for your training program. Next, you communicate this plan, usually through some clear emails to department heads and employees, just to make sure everyone is totally on board. Third, you assess. You run interactive Q&As or initial quizzes to figure out exactly where your employees' current data skills are at. Fourth, you cultivate the culture. This one is huge. You encourage your employees to use data in their daily tasks and maybe even hand out awards to the people who make the best data-driven decisions. Fifth is prescriptive learning. Because let's face it, everyone learns differently, right? So you tailor the education. Fast learners might get advanced visualization techniques, while the folks who are struggling get some foundational help. And finally, you evaluate. You use end-of-program surveys and assessments to measure if the whole thing actually improved decision-making. It's a continuous, incredibly powerful loop.
And finally, Section 5, privacy versus security. 2 sides of the exact same coin.
Okay, the absolute best way to understand this is what we call the diary and the lock analogy. Data privacy, that's the diary itself. It's your personal information and you have the right to control it. You decide if you want to happily share a few pages with a trusted best friend, just like you choose to share your credit card info to buy something online or allow some fun app to access your camera and location. You are in complete control of who gets to see it. Data security, on the other hand, is the heavy iron lock on that diary. It's the absolute mechanism that protects your diary from uninvited, unauthorized access. Say you have guests over. You might use a guest account on your computer so they simply can't access your admin files. You use strong passwords, encryption, firewalls, and antivirus software to stop hackers or viruses from forcing their way into your private life. So basically, privacy is the rule you set, and security is exactly how you enforce it.
And this distinction is absolutely crucial for the future, especially for anyone out there designing artificial intelligence systems. AI relies on massive amounts of private user data, and that relies entirely on trust. We can look impartially at the 2016 US elections, where there was a major, widely reported incident involving the violation of user data on Facebook. It serves as a really stark reminder of what actually happens when privacy is compromised. As a creator, you simply cannot share user data for personal gain without permission. But beyond that, even if you do keep it private, failing to secure that data properly from hackers who might use it to blackmail your users is a massive, catastrophic failure of responsibility. You literally must provide both privacy and security.
So what are the actual best practices for all of us trying to navigate this digital world? Well, it boils down to a few core do's and don'ts. If you're collecting data, you need to understand exactly what you need and gather only what is necessary. And always, always ask for user consent. Now, for protecting your own data, use strong passwords. Absolutely turn on two-factor authentication for your accounts. Stick to secure websites. Keep your apps and systems updated so you can patch any vulnerabilities. And honestly, go into your social media settings right now and adjust them for minimum public visibility. And remember, only connect with trusted individuals online. Wow, okay, we have covered a lot of ground today. From turning raw numbers into actual wisdom to building a solid culture of data literacy and finally, protecting all that data with privacy and security. But I want to leave you with one final thought to reflect on today. Considering everything we've just learned, if your digital footprint, every click, every location, every single purchase, if all of that was a diary, who really holds the key to it right now? Thank you so much for exploring this with us, and we'll see you next time.